Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Real Cooking with Rapid Rod. Today's meal is going to be some rock Cornish hens. I'm going to do two of them, and we're going to create a rub to put all over the chicken to make it taste nice and delicious. Today's rub is going to consist of Old Bay seasoning, some sage, parsley, some Italian seasoning for that little robust explosion of flavor, some Mrs. Dash seasoning as well, chicken poultry seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder, lemon pepper powder, and some extra virgin olive oil, some cracked pepper, some carnivore chicken seasoning, and my sazon. Never be caught without it. And then I have the chicken broth in the back because I'm gonna make some chicken gravy because I'm gonna have mashed potatoes as a side. So with no further ado, let's get at this. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna mix the rub for the Cornish hens. And we're gonna do it with first using some olive oil. And we're not gonna really measure, we're gonna go by feel because sometimes you just have to go by feel. You know, you don't always have to measure stuff, especially after you've cooked for a while and you pretty much know what you're doing. So first we're going to be throwing the olive oil, then some Old Bay, just a dash of sage, a good amount of parsley because the parsley is going to make it nice and pretty, taste good. Some Italian seasoning for that robust, big bang flavor. Again, some Mrs. Dash's salt-free seasoning, some poultry seasoning, some garlic powder, some onion powder, some lemon pepper seasoning, cracked pepper, a pretty decent amount of cracked pepper, and then the pièce de résistance, as I like to refer to it, my carnivore chicken seasoning. This stuff will really spice up any chicken dish that you're making. Really, really good stuff. And that's basically it. And then we just get a whisk and we whisk everything up. Real nice. In fact, I'm going to put a little bit more olive oil in there because that may not quite be enough to cover the two Cornish hens. And what we're going to do, we're going to rub this all over the chickens. And we're going to wash them next with cool water, salt, and some vinegar. Because those chickens have to be washed properly and the fat has to be removed out of them. So basically we have our rub here. And then we will go from here. And what I've decided to do is I'm going to cut some fresh rosemary off the stalk and add it to my rub. Because rosemary is a wonderful flavoring anytime you do Cornish hen or any kind of chicken, turkey, or whatever have you. Okay, so before we start the washing process of the chicken, there's a couple of things I want you guys to be aware of. First of all, we're going to wash the chicken with, again, cool water. This is pink Himalayan salt, and this is just regular apple cider vinegar. But when you're preparing your Cornish hens, if there are any feathers that you see on them like here, you just want to either pull them out or you can take a Bic lighter or a matchbook and strike a match and you can burn whatever little feathers that might remain on the chicken off. You definitely want to do that to clean it up. But also, again, before we get into the cleaning process, you want to get inside this cavity and there's always a little mass of fat here. And you want to get rid of that because you don't want to cook any of the little fat pieces. You dig deep up in here in the cavity because usually these are pretty clean, but usually you get a lot of fat, as you can see, these little pieces of things here. You want to get that stuff out and off of your chicken. And again, also pull off any feathers that you might see or burn them off, whatever your preference is. And just clean the chicken up a little bit. And here again, I'm going into the cavity, and here's a little fat pouch that I'm seeing. And there's other gook in here like this. You want to get all that stuff out of there as best you can before you even begin the cleaning process. Okay, so we're going to wash down the chicken in cool water. And I'm going to rinse these boys about 3 times to make sure they're nice and clean. So I'm giving them once rinse over first with just water before I put my vinegar and salt mix in there. Now I put salt on the chicken because you want to make sure that the salt will act as a kind of a texturizer to scrub that skin and get anything off the skin that you basically can't get with water. So I'm going to wash this chicken down good, getting the water all up in the cavity, rinse it down. I'm going to turn the water off and wash my hands right quick. And dry my hands right quick. And I'm going to pour the salt right onto the chicken. Right, front and back. All that salt right on the chicken. Notice I didn't touch the salt even after I washed my hands. And then just rub the chickens together like so. The Cornish hens, I should say. Rubbing all that salt around to get whatever gook and stuff that might exist on it, like I said, that you might not be able to get off with just rinsing. You may think that this salt is going to add a salty flavor to the chicken, but it's not, because we're going to rinse it again really well when we're done. All right, we got the salt on there. And now put cold water in there and a little vinegar, a little apple cider vinegar. This vinegar will really get rid of whatever stuff that's left on the chicken that we want to get out of it. So we'll finish rinsing off these chickens and washing them really good, and then we'll come back to the video and go forward from there. An important point that I wanted to make as you're doing chicken, you want to be careful of cross-contamination. I must have washed my hands 40 times already, and you want to keep them as clean as possible. I've also taken the liberty, after I've washed the chicken, to re-wash my sink again, including the spigot and the handle, because what happens is after you wash the chicken and you turn the water on, turn it off, you're cross-contaminating that. So we want to make sure that our viewers are conscious of cross-contamination. Okay, so we've washed the chickens real nice, and I've patted them dry. And we've put them into our foil pan, which we're going to roast them in. As I said, we've removed all the fat and stuff. But if we pan over to the left a little on my cutting board, these are ingredients that we're going to use. We're going to put quarters of chicken inside the Cornish hen, quarters of lemon inside the Cornish hen. We're going to put some sprigs of rosemary, and I'm going to put 2 whole cloves of garlic on the inside of the cavity of the Cornish hen so that that can season on the inside. So with that, we're just stirring up our rub mixture again. Make sure it's nice and mixed up. And we're going to rub this generously all over the chicken. All over the chicken. And that's basically how we're going to season it. Again, I've cleaned my hands 40, 50 times. So my hands are nice and clean. And it's okay. I'm going back in here. And you're going to just rub our mixture all over the chicken. Very generously, very liberally. Because we want all that good seasoning that we mixed up to be all over the chicken. All over his little wing here. We're going to show you a little technique to tuck the wings underneath the bird when you're actually when you're roasting it, because that way the tips of the wings don't get done. So you can go all up inside the cavity. Right? You want to make sure all of this good rub mixture gets in there. And what's actually going to happen, you can use butter. Some people use a dab or two of butter to rub the chicken with first, the skin first. But I've already used the olive oil, and that's going to act as an agent that's going to make the skin of the Cornish hens really crisp up nicely as we're cooking it. And you'll see that as we get towards the back end. So we're just rubbing up these chickens really good. Again, getting the inside. And we are going to put that stuff on the inside that I mentioned. And then we turn it over and do the same on the back side. Get this lovely mixture all over our chicken. Because this is the seasoning. And then we're going to let this set. I'm going to let this set about 5 hours before I go any further with it. To make sure all these good, flavorful, aromatic seasonings get in there real good. And of course, it's still also in the pan here. I'm going to rinse off my hands again. I only use one hand, so the other one is pretty dry and clean. And the final piece of the puzzle is going to be our sazon. We're going to use our sazon just to dust over the top of the chicken. And what this actually does, not only does it give it a beautiful flavor, but it also adds a little color to our Cornish hen. And that's also what we want. You know, you can also add paprika. You can also add paprika in this recipe if you like, but I didn't have any. So I'm going to just improvise as best I can. And you guys can make sure you do the same too. It's not important that if you're missing 1 or 2 ingredients, it's not going to kill you. You just use what you have in your cabinet, and I promise you it'll come out very good. Just follow these basic steps. And you want to get this sazon all over this chicken nicely. Again, gives it a real nice color. I'm even going to use a little of another open pack that I had. This gives a really good flavor. This is a lighter sazon. This is garlic and onion and herb. The other was azafran, which gives it that nice reddish color. So now I'm going to take these quarters of lemon and put it on the inside of the chicken, giving just a gentle squeeze, 2 quarters to each inside, because that'll cook up inside, give it a nice zesty flavor. Squeezing it gently, not too, you don't want to completely squeeze it out, just gently, because the flavor will cook in there. And then my sprigs of rosemary, I'm going to go up on the inside to cook. In each chicken, like so. And then I'm going to mash these garlic cloves. How about that? My reflexes are still there. I'm going to mash these garlic cloves and put those up inside there too, so we can get some nice garlicky flavor from the inside as well as the outside. And then we're going to set these off to the side to rest, as I said, to let these seasonings marinate for about, I'm going to do about a 5-hour marinade. And then we'll get back to you and finish this off. And as I said, what you don't want to happen is as the chicken cooks, you don't want these little tips of the wings to burn. So you can tuck the wing behind the Cornish hen like so. And those wings will be protected and they won't burn. I've already done the other chicken, the other Cornish hen, so this one has a little bit of a small wing, so it's a little tougher. But you just tuck it up behind there, and that way those wings don't get overcooked or burnt. All right, so we've rubbed our Cornish hens down perfectly. Very nice. They look very nice right now. And all we do now is just cover it with foil, and we're going to set it in the fridge for, as I said, 5 hours. You can do it overnight. whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm going to do a 5-hour marinade. All right, so it's been a few hours later now, and the Cornish hens have been marinating in the fridge, and now it's time to take them out of the fridge, and we're going to put it into an oven that should be preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. My oven is at 375 because for whatever reason it cooks a little bit slower, so I'm going to jack it up a little bit, 25 degrees Fahrenheit more, but you folks should do it at 350 because that's basically what the recipe calls for. We're going to take the top off of this foil and put the bird right on the center rack. Okay, so we've uncovered the birds and we're basically going to put them into this oven, which is now preheated at 375 degrees. Again, you should do 350 because that's what the recipe calls for. But before I do, I'm going to pour about a quarter or almost a half a cup of chicken broth into the bottom of the pan. And what that's going to do, that's just going to act like a little bit of a compound to avoid the chicken from sticking once we put it in the oven. So with that, we open up the oven. We're going to put these chickens in, uncovered, for about 50-55 minutes, and then we'll come back to it. All right, the birds have been in the oven for about 45-50 minutes now, and they're doing relatively good. They're cooking up real nicely, and they're getting a little bit golden brown. In about another 10 minutes, I'm going to baste it for the first time. All right, so the birds have been in the oven about 55 minutes or so, and I've taken them out to give it the first basting. I've reduced the heat in the oven to 350, down from 375. I just felt it was cooking a little bit too quickly at 375, so I'm at 350. This whole meal should go about an hour and 40 minutes. I'm about 55 minutes in, and we're going to give it its first basting. And that's very important in this dish. You want to make sure you baste. These birds have to be basted. And you just want to go in here and get some of the juice and just pour it right on top of the bird like so, all over it. And that's going to help the top continue to golden brown over these wings generously. And I'm going to actually do this again later down the line, but this is just my first basting because I want the bird to stay moist and let these pan drippings really get in to the skin and all parts of the bird. And I'll just baste the other bird and we'll be back very shortly. Okay, so I've basted both the birds first time around. I'm going to put them back into the oven at 350, put them in about for another 35 minutes or so, baste them a second time, and then take them on out to finish cooking. Just wanted to point out that some people generally cover their Cornish hens with aluminum foil and cook them covered in foil. I don't cover mine. I like mine to kind of get the heat as it circulates around the skin on the top of the bird and get that really good crusty browned essence. As you can see, the browning is already occurring on the bird, and we're just about halfway finished. So I just wanted to point that out. And you can cover it with foil if you like, but I don't do that. All right, so this is the second checking of the chicken. We've taken it out the oven. We're going to baste it a second time. You can see the chicken is really nice. It's browning up beautifully, coming along just as we want. These babies have about another 10 minutes to go in the oven, and they should be righteous. So we're just basting them really, really well. And I want to point something out while I have you. There's a little hole right in here. If you look at the Cornish hen, right in this area right here, there's a little hole in that area. A lot of times when you're seasoning your Cornish hen, you can throw a clove of garlic up in there, or crush the garlic and put it in there, or even just season up in that little hole. You can see it better on this one. You see, right up in here. And what that does is you can get the seasoning right up against the chicken leg, the Cornish hen leg, and the Cornish hen thigh. And it just, again, adds to the saturation of the seasoning as you are basically rubbing your bird down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and there you have it, Rapid Rod's version of rock Cornish hens. These baby beauties are all done, and I'm gonna sit down and grit, and grease. To the extent I have 2 chickens, I'm probably going to make, well, definitely going to have some leftovers tomorrow, at which time I'm going to make some mashed potatoes and a green salad, maybe some green beans, and have my secondary leftover dish tomorrow. But as of tonight, this is where we at. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. I appreciate all my viewers checking in, and I appreciate all your comments. And I want to thank you so much. Bon appetit and good night. Okay, come on and eat, baby. This is on point. Woo! It needs no more seasoning. This is delicious. Killed it again.